and vote, and we'll see when we'll figure out what it is we're going to do going forward. But thank you for being here today. And with that, I am going to ask Art Mavrota to come in and come up here and lead us in our prayers and pledges. Please stand.
That's great. Father, as we meet here today, thank you for every seat that has been filled, for each mind and heart that fills us. We have an idea, we have a vision, hints, and daily instructions. However, only you can see in perfect detail every project, every season, every life. Nothing is ever in vain. Missteps are used for good. And understanding. Forgive us for our pride, the pride that puffs us up, all those present, as well as the lives of
We have two proclamations today, and the first one will be American Recycles Day. So, Charlotte, are you here by yourself, or do you got a troop of people with you? Well, this will be enough. You got people. America Recycles Day, a Keep America Beautiful national initiative, is the only nationally recognized day dedicated to promoting and celebrating recycling in the United States. America Recycles Day educates and encourages individuals on how to be more mindful of what they consume, where and how to properly recycle, and to pledge to recycle more and recycle right in their everyday lives. The day highlights the actions we can all take to collectively address the challenges facing our nation's recycling system. Many people are confused about what items can be recycled, where they can be recycled, and how. This often leads to recyclable bowls going in the trash or trash going in the recycling bin. Keep San Angelo Beautiful urges citizens to reduce, reuse, repurpose, and recycle properly in every aspect of their life. Recycle at home, work, school, and on the go. Buy products made with recycled content. Educate and encourage friends, family, and neighbors to do the same and participate in a cleanup event. Recycling is important to ensure our planet remains healthy, along with other benefits like reducing landfill waste, conserving natural resources such as oceans and forests, and lessening the burden of fossil fuels, which can decrease greenhouse gases. By recycling our materials, together we can create a healthier planet for ourselves and future generations. Therefore, I, Brenda Gunter, Mayor of the City of San Angelo, Texas, on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim November the 15th, 2024, as America Recycles Day. For you, my dear. Please.
2 seconds. Thank you all. And just real quick, I want to show you a number one. This is a number one. How easy is that? This is the number two. Look, it's just a jug. It's pretty much a little clean. We've got aluminum can, some green beans. Everybody should be eating green beans. And last but not least, a Coke. Please reduce, reuse, and recycle. These are the items that go in your recycle bin. Together, we can all make a difference in San Angelo. I want to thank you, Mayor Gunter and City Council, for the support of our program of Keep San Angelo Beautiful, our lovely Girl Scouts that are with us today, and our board members and Miss Renee. Girls, do y'all have anything to say?
Tell us about what you've been doing. Okay.
A little shy
We
there.
know you've been working hard, so that's good enough. Okay, we're going to go over here.
And
We're
take
going
a
to have a
quick pic.
picture
I'm going to
taken.
put this here. Yes, yes, yes.
Everybody together. Our next proclamation is National Adoption Month, and would all of you come forward and help us celebrate this day? Good morning. Good morning. All children deserve a safe home and a family to help them flourish and grow. Each year, many Texas children find a forever home thanks to adoptive families. In Tom Green County, there are still many children currently in foster care awaiting a forever family to bring them home. During the month of November, communities across the country come together to observe National Adoption Month to encourage and celebrate adoption. This effort, along with similar celebrations in all 50 states, will offer children the chance to live with stable and loving families and encourage other dedicated individuals to make a powerful difference in the lives of children through adoption. The City of San Angelo recognizes National Adoption Month in support of the adoptive families here in our own community and encourages others to open their hearts and homes to children in need of forever families. Therefore, I, Brenda Gunter, Mayor of the City of San Angelo, Texas, on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim November 2024 as National Adoption Month and call on all citizens to remember the children and families who have joined their lives to the miracle of adoption. Open their hearts and minds to the idea of opening their own homes to children in need, and congratulate the new families to be formed during National Adoption Month. Might want to bring that down a bit.
Thank you all for this opportunity to allow us to share some light on National Adoption Month. So this year we have a total of 10 families adopting 14 children. And although that is something that is very exciting, we do have to remember those that are still in care. Currently, right now, we have around 400 children in our region that are still needing, that are in foster care, and several of those that are still needing adoption homes. We would like to take this opportunity to just remind y'all of our obligation as a community to step up for those children. And if you are interested, please find someone or reach out to Fostering Concho Valley Kids on Facebook or in general, just to find more information about what you can do as a community to help these children that are still in care.
We will now move into the public comment portion of the agenda. Issues or concerns not on the regular agenda may be raised by the public at this time. Citizens should speak from the podium, address all comments to the dais, begin by stating their name and address or single-member district number, and limit their remarks to less than 3 minutes. Heather, do we have individuals here who would like to speak?
We have two. First, Renee Lacey.
Good morning, Council. I am Renee Lacey, Single Member District 5. I'll be commenting on a business that I just wanted to make an introduction for you guys. It's with Good Vibes LLC. We are located at 3038 West Beauregard Avenue. I am within a local artisan boutique, and I specialize in multiple areas. So I am an entrepreneurial multi-service brand. So come by, check it out. We're open Tuesday through Saturday from 12 till 6. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Aaron Vanoy.
Were you not getting enough attention with all of your items on the agenda? You needed to come forward for public comment?
Thank you, Mayor. Aaron Vanoy, Director of Planning Development Services, also in SMD number 3. This morning, it actually gives me great pleasure to introduce our new Planning and Development Administrator, Kim Garmany. She comes to us from operations. She was our city's former grant writer. We're very excited that she's with us. Kim, come on up here. That position's been vacant for almost 18 months, and to find somebody that's highly qualified and ready to help lead our department forward, we're very excited about that. Kim's going to be presenting the 2 cases this morning, so you'll get to have Kim instead of having to look at me, Mayor, so very, very good for that. But just want to say thank you, Kim, for coming on our team, and we're very excited for Kim Garmany to be with us today. So thank
Well,
you.
Kim, welcome to the Planning Department, and we also want to thank you for the work you have done on grant writing. And we expect you to continue to look for opportunities in the grant world.
Yes, ma'am, of course.
Thank you. Is that the end of? Okay. We will then move into our consent agenda. Today, you will notice as we go through the consent agenda, there's tremendous projects that will help move our city forward to the tune of over $4 million included in this consent agenda program today. So I ask that we all give great consideration to these purchases and make sure we understand fully what the purchases are going to do for us, and make sure that we are supporting these requests. I'm going to ask each council member to give me any item that they would like to have pulled, and I'll start with Larry. Karen?
No, ma'am.
Lucy?
Item Q, please.
Q? Item Q will be pulled. Harry?
No, ma'am.
Tom?
Nothing to pull.
Tommy?
No, ma'am.
With that, may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
So moved by Tom,
Second.
seconded by Tommy. Public comment concerning the items on the consent agenda?
Jamal Schumpert.
Jamal Shumpert, single member, district number 3. I also had a public comment, but I guess it skipped. We'll get it next week, right? Or 2 weeks from now, right? On B, we're purchasing land for the fire station for almost 3 acres for $379,000. It's needed, of course, but in the development corporation, you sold acres for $24,000 and got them appraised for about $49,000. There's a lot of difference in that. That is actually the difference. We would have a surplus to be able to afford this, really afford this. And when we have people back there, well, we can't afford Medicare. On G, the purchase of a skid steer. I applaud you guys. Thank you. We needed to clean up our stormwater and all over town, not just the McDonald's area, because that's what you focused on. And you're putting even more money towards that, which I don't think we really need to do. And you're buying a wood chipper. I applaud you for that too, because you're gonna cut a lot of wood down. You're gonna need to do something with the wood chip. Are we gonna resell the wood chips? Or are we gonna use it in our garden or what? And for Southwest Boulevard improvements, $400,000 for concrete riprap lines. I mean, wouldn't it just been good to have a natural look? And the owner's allowance fund. There's not any work hardly being done other than clearing debris for almost $600,000. That almost seems like a money grab. And then the dual CCN area. I've been paying attention quite closely to Fairview Road developments. They are supposed to be half acres, a full acre rurals. And then you're gonna change it to where they're gonna be residential. Well, not this one. This one's gonna be residential, but Fairview is supposed to be acres. When you add this water and these services out there, he's gonna be back in planning commission to make it residential and put a lot more homes out there. And when he does that, he's gonna have to expand the road, which you've already given variances on towards Fairview. Beyond that, do we have enough water to support 55 homes in that area? And affordable housing. I think there's a real problem. Y'all guys won't be able to tell if it's CDBG funding doing it or if it is actual COSA DC funds doing it, because they're running dual programs. I'm not even sure if that's effective at all. And I guess that'll be it. I'll hold my other comments. Thank you.
Jamal, thank you for your comments and bringing issues to the front. We have a lot of city staff here today. Anything that you would like to have a further conversation and clarification on, please talk to our city staff. They would be glad to go into a lot more detail to help you better understand what we're doing, the purchases, and why we're doing them. They would be glad to give you additional information.
Mayor, I understand the purchases. The problem I have is with how you budgeted and how you choose what projects are more important than other projects.
You know, again, I'm going to ask that you speak with the staff in the back of the room and know that we respect your comments. Thank you.
Thank you.
We will now take a vote on all of the items on the consent agenda with the exception of item Q. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. We'll move into item Q, and item Q is consider ratifying COSA DC board approval authorizing its board president to negotiate and execute a sub-recipient agreement between COSA DC and Galilee CDC to operate and manage the Affordable Housing Assistance Program. Robert, you're on.
Yes, did you have a question?
Yes,
Councilor?
Bob, I just wanted you to explain this to me as it's written. I didn't quite get it. I wasn't able to pull it up.
Sure.
So can you please just tell me what it's about?
In a nutshell, this action transfers the cumbersome legal process of recapturing affordable housing funds in cases of foreclosures or sale of properties. Under this agreement, Galilee will be responsible for all real estate documents for the program, leaving the city's legal department and the board, the COSA DC board, out of the process. That's all this does. It's basically almost a contract process to get them to handle the legal documents and the real estate documents through the whole process. That's what this is.
Okay, you were talking about foreclosure. Do we have a lot of those?
No,
in
we
this
don't.
program?
The foreclosure, we've only had two since 2008. One time, we actually recaptured the house, and it took a lot of work on our legal department's side, and my time and the board's time to go through that and recapture that house. The other foreclosure we had, we never got notified, so we had no idea it was happening until after the fact. So since 2008, we've only had two, so it's a pretty good,
Very good.
pretty good percentage there.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Other questions from council? Larry?
So what you're saying is they're in a much better position to work this more effectively and less expensive.
Absolutely, yes, sir. Absolutely.
Any other comments from or questions from council? Seeing none, I will ask for a motion to approve item Q. Larry, would you like to make that, Lucy?
Yes, ma'am. I move to approve as presented.
May I have a second? Second. A second by Larry. Public comment concerning this item? Seeing none, is there public
I'm sorry.
comment on this item?
Jamal put that he had public comment for item Q, but he already touched on it a little bit.
Okay,
Should- Might have left
all
out.
right, with that, we will move on and take a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. That completes the consent agenda, and we will now move into our regular agenda. We're going to change up the regular agenda in terms of what comes first, because there's so many people here today who are with us. So what we're going to do is move item F, which is consideration and action related to benefit for post-65 retiree Medicare Advantage, and Brian up as a number one item. And then we will go back to the regular agenda in terms of the items as they are listed. So I'm going to give the floor to you. Brian, you are on.
All righty. Good morning, Mayor, Council. Brian Kendrick, Director of Human Resources. So we have a follow-up from the item we had a couple of meetings ago. Before that meeting, in our discussions with consultant Holmes Murphy, I had asked if there was a possibility of an alternate bid that we could get, and we did receive one. It was after the last meeting, and it accounts for very minimal plan design changes. We received it at 3:06 that day, so unfortunately, we just didn't make it under the deadline for getting into that meeting. But the changes to this alternate bid are minimal. The plan would still represent a better overall benefit than the rest of the retirees under 65 and the current city employees receive. It adds a $500 deductible you'll see on your screen there for health. And it adds a $250 charge for outpatient surgeries. The other thing to keep in mind is even though this bid is lower than the original bid, because there are certain timeframes that we have to give for any kind of changes related to this, we cannot start the alternate bid until March 1st. So we would have to go with the original bid for the first 2 months, and then we could switch to the alternate bid. But it does save a significant amount. It's $178,000 difference in the bids. So I wanted to give you all some options. The options I gave you all last time verbally were with the original bid, you could fund, the way I saw it, you could fund it fully, leave the premium at $20.44. You could fund it partially, threw in 50% here, moving the premiums to $80.82, or you could fund none of it, which would move the premiums to $145.19. With the alternate bid, I wanted to give you, again, the same sort of options. If we fund, let me go back to that previous slide. Again, the cost for that option one is $434,000 there. So if we look at this one, again, it wouldn't start until March 1st, so the savings is prorated. But if we go with option one, you'd fund the full marginal increase, retain the 2044 premium for retirees as is, and that would be a cost of $285,000 to the city, or $285,505. Option two, 50%. You can see that that of course cuts it by 50% to $142. Fund none of it. It would raise their premiums to $102.48. I have met with as many retirees as wanted to meet with me. I've reached out to some in addition to that because I wanted to make sure that I was hearing everything that they had to say, and I wanted to make sure I could be there to answer questions. I let them know that my recommendation to you folks would be option one, to leave the premium at $20.44 of the alternate bid. Again, that would start on March 1st. We'd have the original bid for the first 2 months.
You know, Brian, I think one of the biggest issues that came up from many of the emails that I received, and I'm sure other city council members received as well, was fear that we were dropping the health insurance for retirees, and that was never, ever a consideration.
No.
The shock value to council, which was the Friday before the meeting,
Right.
and that Tuesday was the first day of the budget session. So we were unaware of this aggressive new premium increase until that Friday afternoon. But there was never, ever consideration of dropping the health insurance.
No, that's
It
true.
was really a challenge of trying to figure out and deal with that increase.
That's right. That's
And
right.
then you have found a way to go back and get alternative bids, which makes the program a much different program than what was originally presented to us. But we respect all of the service and all the time and effort that all of our retirees have put into being police officers and part of our fire department. You are part of what makes this city a quality of life city, and we greatly appreciate all the work, the effort that you have put into the city of San Angelo. And so today, we're seeing a much different program than what was originally presented to us. And I would say that I'm thrilled that we have something different to look at today and a much different program. So thank you for the work and effort. You didn't let it drop. You continued to work hard on it, and you did it because you care about what our retirees have done for us as a city. And I know you spent a lot of hours and lost a lot of gray hair working on this program for us, as I know many people in the audience also lost some hair and got a few more gray hairs worrying about what was going to go on with this program. So thank you for everyone for being here today. Thank you, Brian, for working hard on this, and we will go
If I could
forward.
just mention one more thing. That,
Yes.
I was able to communicate it with a few, but I just wanted to make sure, because there was some question about the time frame when we got the bid, and, you know, that never looks good for the bid to come in that late and those kind of things. We went back and looked to 2015. We have not seen an increase over 2.3% since 2015. So there was no reason to think that they were going to come in at 60%. So that was part of the shock to all of our systems. But we will, on our part, we will do better to make sure we get that bid earlier. If this is a possibility, make sure that we get that bid earlier so that we can present that earlier to everybody, both the retirees and city council.
Well, not only getting the bids earlier, but I think we must make sure there's a place card in our budget sessions that allows for those increases in case they do happen, so that we don't pass a budget and then have to relook at the numbers
Yes, ma'am.
3
Fully
days
agree.
later.
Fully agree.
The very first day of the new budget session. So we need to be proactive in making sure we protect
Yes, ma'am.
what future increases could be. But thank you for the work, and thank you for all the emails and phone calls that many of you made to me, as well as to other city council members here today. Thank you, and thank you for your service. All right, with that, do I have questions from council?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Larry?
My question is for future years. Is this sustainable? And this might be a question Mrs. Dursky could answer better than you can. Can we afford this in years going forward?
If you Google my job and my desire is to always make this sustainable, is to keep this benefit. With that being said, it doesn't take much of a Google search to find out the things that are happening with Medicare Advantage plans, and the market is just very volatile right now. I think my gut tells me that this percentage is probably a little bit of an overreaction to the changes that are going to happen, and so hopefully we'll see. And again, this is I can only speak in these terms because I don't control that market, or insurance companies are saying that they have a tough time making a profit in this. I know we've had some major insurance companies pull out of this game entirely. Blue Cross Blue Shield, like I said, they refuse to even bid us. They are rethinking their approach to it. I believe Blue Cross Blue Shield, even in the ones that they did bid, I think I heard that they removed MD Anderson from the network, which, that's, again, the market's volatile. I think it's an overreaction. I hope it's a knee-jerk reaction to these things, and I hope we'll see those percentages kind of steady out over time. But I wish I had a crystal ball. I wish I could answer that better.
Well, I think we know the insurance industry overall. This is medical, but the same thing's happening to house, property, cars, et cetera. So the insurance industry is in a roller coaster right now.
It is. You can see that even in your car insurance, and I think everybody's seen that over the last couple of years.
Yeah. Tina, did you want to help address?
I was just going to address Larry's question a little bit further. If you're asking if we can afford it today, any increases today would have to be coming from a one-time funding source such as fund balance, and then going into next fiscal year, we would include it in our original budget, and that would just use excess marginal revenue at that point and would be built into the budget next
If
year.
there's excess marginal revenue.
Yes, ma'am.
And a little more into that vein, as far as, obviously we just started the fiscal year. I would anticipate that I will probably come back to you in April and see where this fund is, and then, have then already done some work with Tina and her staff to try to locate where we might prop this up for, the rest of the year if we need to.
I just hope that what we do is relook at everything in April, because I don't want the group of people here today to go through the panic and the fear that just happened.
Right, no, this won't change, yeah. Whatever decided will be decided for 2025, so.
So we need to be very proactive. We need to make sure that any clues that are given to us about what might happen are communicated, and that we work through those so we don't go through this again.
Agreed.
It was very emotional,
Yes, ma'am.
and we get it.
Yep, absolutely. It's one of the most
So-
important things that we all deal with, if not the most.
But stay healthy, everyone. Take care of yourself. That's the other part of it. Stay healthy, right? All of us up here? Stay healthy, right? So with that, other questions or comments from council? Lucy?
Yes, I just wanted everyone to know that the emails that I received from y'all, I read them, I understand completely. I know that sometimes in this lifetime, I know that we all go through things. Either we know someone or it happens to us. These situations arise. So I know that it's very panicky, it's anxious. You get to where you're thinking, oh no, what are we going to do? So I hope that what we decide today will help you and put you at ease. And like the mayor said, stay healthy. Enjoy your life. Thank you.
Yes, Tommy?
I just wanted to echo a couple of things Brian said. This is the world I've lived in my entire career. I've been in the insurance world. And Brian is correct. The Medicare Advantage world is changing under our feet literally as we speak. Mutual of Omaha has been a large provider of over 65 medical insurance for many, many years. They have made the decision to withdraw from the marketplace entirely their Medicare Advantage portfolio. So we don't know what that leaves for us in the landscape, but it is changing. And some of this is mandated at the federal level, and the insurance companies have no control over this whatsoever. So we're just going to have to go with the flow. I would echo what the mayor said. We just need to be proactive and stay on top of it.
That's my pledge to you guys.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I would echo what you said, what Lucy said, what others probably have thought. That we do appreciate these people and the service that they have given to the city. it is what has made this a really great place to live. Mayor, if you're ready for a motion, I would.
I am.
I would, Brian, if you could put that back on the screen.
Sorry, I moved it right before you got there.
I would make a motion that we accept option one and fully fund that $285,000, leaving all the retirees' premium at $20.44 a month.
I would like to second that.
There's a second on that. Is there public comment today? Heather, do we have public comment?
Russell Smith.
You know where the podium is.
Yes, ma'am.
You know where the microphone is.
Thank y'all for having one that bends down. I'm Russell Smith. I'm in single member District 6. Mayor, city council, and staff. First time I stood before the city council was in August of 1982. Some of the firemen and policemen were there in that room, and they're here today. Standard Times editorial that afternoon said, the San Angelo Police Association, after sitting down for discussions with city management, for the first time agreed to pay up to a pay increase for firefighters and policemen. Later it said such harmony is a welcome development and could signify a new era in city affairs. And such was the way I tried to be the whole time I was with the police department. And it was probably because of the way I was brought up and the way I believe that someone's word, their promise, you know.
To the microphone.
Would that make it better? 'Cause
That
it
would make it
seems
a whole
to be,
lot better.
Okay, I'm sorry. Do I lose that 30 seconds? Okay. Of course, we've had a few hiccups since I retired. With the latest, I want to read an email that I received. I just have such a heavy heart for those people who have such a small retirement income and are not able to pay for this insurance payment, along with medicine, electricity, food, and basic necessities. I know that the ones that will suffer the most are those with the least education and those that did the manual labor. Of course, they are talking about the 62 retirees we learned about in the last hiccup who only receive $500 or less in a TMRS benefit, or the 117 that receive between $501 and $1,000. But today I must commend HR Director Brian Kendrick, the staff, and you, the City Council, for providing the Medicare supplement that you have in the past and the one we have now. I ask that you keep the original one. I have to do that because of the people from the water department, the sewer department. The big thing is they can't afford a monthly payment. They don't have it. And these are the people that are in those low payment. It's not necessarily us, but it's the fire. I mean, the fire and the police, we'd rather have the money for us. But if I understand that right, is that no payment?
It would keep the payment as is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, thank you very much if it goes that way. And
You know what that means?
I think it means I'm over. Thank you.
It does, and thank you so much. Further public comment?
Robert Henderson.
Morning.
Good morning.
Mayor, council, everybody. I'm not going to repeat everything Russell said, but I went to work for the city in 1960. And then I retired in 1990, 30 years service with the fire department.
I worked under 3 city managers, 4 fire chiefs, and a lot of councilmen. The problem I have is I'm 85 years old, and I won't be able to get insurance if something happens to my retirement insurance. Back in 1960, we were promised the options of vacation, sick leave, holidays, and then our insurance paid for. So, other than that, it'd be pretty hard. I brought my 2 deposit slips, Social Security and my fire department, if anybody's interested in it. But for every dollar that's taken out of my check, I can't replace it. I can't work anymore. And so, the only reason I come up is for support for the other guys and then to tell you my history. And I appreciate y'all.
Thank you for coming forward.
Thank you, ma'am.
Randy Koenig.
Good morning. I'm Randy Koenig. I live at 6454 Lincoln Park Road West, Member District 1. We as a group just recited our allegiance to America and the state of Texas. I believe this was an oath, a commitment, our word, our allegiance to honor our country. We as employees of the City of San Angelo also gave our word to serve the City of San Angelo. This problem we face, I believe, is just the tip of the iceberg. Our word is our bond. If our word means nothing, then our bond means nothing. These retired employees before you today spent 20, 30, or maybe even 40 years serving the city. The benefit promised us is a bond made to us by the city. To take it away will probably put many retirees below the poverty level. This is not what the city commitment promised us. There is right and there is wrong. This is more about integrity, honesty, doing what you say, and saying what you do. I pray you will choose right over wrong. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next.
Carla Steppe.
Hello, Mayor, Council. My name is Carla Steppe. I live in Mertzon, Texas. I am a retiree of the City of San Angelo. I worked proudly for 28 years, almost 28 years, in the police and the fire departments. And during those years, we believed and relied upon the city to honor their promise and commitment for us working our 20-plus years when we were hired before January 1st of 2000. And I'm sure everyone here in the room will say the same thing. And throughout the years, there were multiple pay studies done by the city of comparable cities. And in all the pay studies, it showed that San Angelo was the lowest ranking. And they told us that we would have our insurance. That would be our benefit. That was part of our package. The health insurance is not a gift. It is part of our compensation, and it was earned by years of hard work and loyalty. We upheld our end of the bargain, and we're asking the city to do the same. We're not asking for anything more than what we were promised. Is the right choice always easy? No, it's not. Is the right choice the least expensive choice? No, it's not. But it's the right thing to do. Rising inflation costs are a fact of life. Paying for the salaries and benefits of the retirees and the current employees is a cost of doing business. Would all the city retirees and employees in the audience please stand up and remain standing for a moment? Thank you. I'm asking the mayor and city council members to please look at these fine men and women. These are the people that have dedicated their lives to the betterment of the city of San Angelo. This is the face of the city. Take care of these people who took care of the city for so many years. This is the city that you have inherited. All of these people still have value. Please do not leave them with the impression that all of their hard work and commitment was wasted and not appreciated. Please make the hard choice and take care of those who came and paved the way before you. Honor the promises of those that came before you. When you are gone from the council, what will you be remembered for? Thank you for your time.
Ricky Long.
Ricky Long, 609 East 19th Street, San Angelo, Texas. I was very pleased to hear what I've heard this morning. When I was here previously, I tried to remind you that we had helped prepay for this by making wage concessions in the past, and that I wanted you to hear the sincerity from the people that had spoken. I believe this room speaks to that sincerity, their commitment. Thank you for yours. With that, you know, at 2 o'clock in the morning when it's 20 degrees outside and there's an emergency, whether you're in a police car, a fire truck, an ambulance, or working the board over at the water department trying to keep the water flowing so the potties will flush, it's hard to get an attaboy. I think that what the city had done for us in our retiree insurance was an attaboy, and thank you for considering that. There are many people in this room and the retirees who have done a ton of research these last few weeks. For them, a thank you. I went to City Hall 2 weeks ago and asked the ladies upstairs about the insurance we have and where it was headed. They were very forthcoming and very informative. They know their stuff. Thank them. Brian, thank you for all the hard work in studying this stuff and coming up with it. And last but not least, thank you, City Council. I cannot imagine the thankless job you have had, nor the hours you've spent trying to get around the problems of no money, tax revenue loss, and all the new federal regulations you face. Lastly, I'd like to thank the citizens of San Angelo for what they gave me for my 40 years of service and what this morning I've heard you say you're going to continue.
John Sparks.
Good morning. My name is John Sparks, single member District 1, retired from the police department in 2003, went to work in 1974, a little over 50 years ago. The reason we're all here is because we were told we would have our insurance paid for when we retired, and that's no longer the case. We're paying $20. I know that's not much of anything, but that wasn't what we were promised. I do appreciate Tommy's motion, and thank you. I would have preferred the other plan where we don't pay a deductible, but this is a very important issue. I think you can just see by the attendance here today how we feel about that. I would ask you to look at all these people, and I appreciate the mayor's acknowledgement earlier that how important the city employees are and the retirees. I mean, if you look out here, and I don't know the number of retired city employees, but I heard 250 over 65. That's over 6,000 years of service to the city of San Angelo. And that's a long time. And I would ask you to look at them today. We're not just a bunch of old people. We're still a part of this community. We live here, shop here, worship here, pay taxes, own homes. We vote. We're still here, and San Angelo does have a lot of great things. We have coliseums, we have the river, we have downtown, we have parks, and the mayor said this morning that another resource we have are city employees, present and past. And while you may be proud of the parks, and I am too, I'm really proud of these people in this room. I mean, they're great people. I know a lot of them. I've worked with them. And I appreciate what you've done again. And like I say, when we went to work every day, we didn't compromise on our work. There's been some talk of, a lesser plan, less insurance, more money for us. That's some compromise, and certainly that's better than no insurance. But when we went to work every day, we didn't compromise on our work. If we were scheduled for 8 hours or we were called out, we stayed and we worked the whole time. We did what we were asked to do and what we agreed to do. And we didn't compromise, and I would urge you today not to compromise and to do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you. As they say, it takes a village, and it takes a tremendous amount of people's work and effort to make this city the great city that it is. So again, I thank you to each of you here today, and thank you for spending the time communicating to us. Thank you. Go ahead.
Carol Ann Cavallero.
I'm short. Thank you very much for hearing us. My name is Carol Ann Cavallero Brown. I'm your first Hispanic, your first female police officer that retired from the city of San Angelo. As a police officer from start to finish, I was your first crime scene detective, female. I was your first female to be invited to the FBI Academy in Quantico. With that said, I worked many years and retired with the city of San Angelo, being loaned out by many counties from our PD. With that said, we worked as one of the lowest police departments in the state of Texas. When I was hired in 1985, July the 1st, I was told straight out that San Angelo Police Department and the fire department was one of the lowest paid for our population in the state of Texas. But if we stayed until we retired, then our city of San Angelo would pay our our health insurance, not our families, just ours, until we passed. If we retired with the city, we were told that from the very start. I was told that when I put my application in, and because of that, I have asked Kelly Duncan, our HR person back then, who has a photographic memory, to come and speak as well. And she will tell you what was told to her to tell us from back then. Our city promised us to pay our health insurance until we passed. We were told, over 200 city employees that are in retirement, that were retired, that our city is supposed to pay for. Unfortunately, or fortunately, we look back on this city council. You have approved $1,211,000 in September to upgrade the stage. Our stage is more valuable than our retirees? Really? Really?
Thank you for your comments.
Travis Griffith.
I was always in the back.
Travis Griffith, Single District 6. Larry, good to see you. Thank you, council. Appreciate this. Man, it's kind of cool that on election day that we have so many people petitioning their elected officials. So I think that's kind of cool to see. It's not lost on me for that. It's also not lost on me the fact that we have trying times. Just as a city, we're looking at, can we afford this? So are they, right? We're all looking at what can we afford with inflation. And the federal government has saddled us with nearly impossible challenges. So as we work through that, I hope election day works out well, but we'll see. It's not this is what we're seeing as West Texas values at play right now, right? We're seeing West Texas values at play where it's a trust but verify. They believe that y'all guys are doing the right thing. I believe you're going to try to do the right thing and everything that you have with your abilities. But I think the main thing is that we want people that you can look them in the eyes and say, we looked at every option we had and we can't afford it. And what we can't afford is this option, which is on the proposal right now. What I would ask that, because this is not just the fire and the police. When I started working for cities in 2000, I made $19,000. Now imagine if I was 55 years old and at the end of my time and I was retiring, made $19,000, I wouldn't be able to afford $500 to have my surgery done, right? So what I would suggest is something that we look at is some sort of a scholarship-like program where we can fund those that are the least of us, right? So the word talks about taking care of the least of us, right? So find a way that we can, those people that are retired that they're out of the water department, out of the parks department, that we can fund those that can't fund that $500, that $200. I know that's a difficult challenge to do for staff, but I think it's something we should consider if you can afford. Ultimately, just sticking to what you said, what was said would do, I think is important. But if we can't, because just like I can't afford many things because of inflation, then I think some people will get that. And I think what we're hearing is people that are excited to see that their elected officials are stepping up and doing what they can. So it's not just the police, not just the fire. It's those people that started at the lowest of levels. And I want to say thank you to each and every one of these people here. They laid the foundational work for us to be here today. Without them, the city would not be what it is. And I'm just so impressed, number one, that we have the quality of people that were here, and we're going to continue to try to keep that same quality, because I don't receive this benefit. Now, only 20 of my employees that I have currently will receive this benefit. We're here to stand up for those that came before us. So thank you very much, and I appreciate y'all guys, and I'll be praying. Thanks.
Kelly Garrett.
Good morning. I'm Kelly Duncan Garrett, and as Carol Ann said, in the early and mid-1980s, I worked in the personnel department. I do have a pretty good memory, but what I specifically remember are the things that I said to all of the staff that came on board at that time, not just the police and fire department, and I did handle the police and fire department hiring process. And good to see y'all, because some of these people in this room, I did their paperwork for them. But not just do I recall very vividly what I told these fine people in this room, not just the police and fire department, the street and bridge workers, the clerks, the accounting clerks, the WIC clerks, every city employee that came on during my time in the personnel office under Alex Seforia and under John Richardson. I can recall what the criteria was and what they were promised. Beyond that, I can tell you in 1966, when my father was hired by the city of San Angelo, what he was promised. He served 27 years at the airport. Luckily for him, he had a career prior to serving Mathis Field and bringing it into a modern airport that it is today. I grew up in a house at the airport that was the former base hospital. So I can tell you, I know where the bones are buried out there. My mother went to work for the city in 1978. She was hired, leaving her affluent career as a CPA. She was hired as a bookkeeper in the nutrition department because she was ready to wind down her career. She retired in 1995. My father retired in 1993 after serving 27 years. I saw with both of them this dilemma come up again about, oh, they're no longer going to pay my insurance. We're going to have to come up with a way to pay it. Well, I know what I told people in the 83, 84, 85. I know what I told people, which is what the city instructed me to tell the people that were serving. And that was that one of their benefits, because our wages were so low, was that you would have your insurance provided. As Carol said, not your spouse, but yours. That was one of your benefits. And even though I did not retire from the city, I would thank you. Thank you for your
Kelly.
service.
Frank Brown.
Frank Brown, single member District 5. Good morning. I'm not a retiree. I'm just a citizen of San Angelo, but I am a retired from the district attorney's office. I spent 8 years from 1989 through 1996 as an assistant district attorney here in San Angelo. And I spent most of that time working with detectives, and all the detectives in this room at some point in time I worked with. And so I'm acutely aware of the stress that they endured, the job they did, their professionalism, their dedication. As Major Sparks said, they were committed 100%. They never compromised. And I saw that firsthand. I saw the missed anniversaries. I saw the missed birthdays. I can remember times when these guys would leave on Friday and they wouldn't be back till Monday because something was going on and they had to go to the valley or chase a load or get some money coming back the other way. And it's the reason that the life expectancy of a police officer is 66. For the rest of us, it's 78. In the scheme of municipal government, the most important thing is public safety. You can have the best parks, you can have the best streets, you can have the best water, but if you don't have public safety, you don't have anything. These guys protected us and took care of us, and it's now time for us to take care of them. And I would ask you to continue their benefit. Thank you.
Jamal Schumpert.
Move on to the next one.
Alan Gilbert.
Thank you. Mayor, Councilman, my name is Alan Gilbert, single member District 1. Is that right, Tommy? Okay, I never can remember that. I want to thank y'all. Tommy, thank you for your motion. I want to thank all of you because I know you've been talked to a lot and you've considered this and you've taken it to heart. I want to thank all these people behind me because they're all here today. The people at City Hall, Brian and the other people that have worked on this, you've heard about the commitments. I'm not going to talk about that anymore because what we expect today is what we know that you will do in the best interest of the city. And that can be different to different people. What we do know is that the commitment that these people made will be honored by you and the time that they spent for you, for the citizens of San Angelo, and all the things that they've done in order to achieve the point of retiring. So I just want to thank you. I don't want to belittle the fact because you know how important it is. It's much more important than I or anyone else can put words to each of these individuals that need this in order for them and their families to survive. Thank the city employees that have worked on this, and we thank you for honoring the people that have helped you to build this great city. Thank you.
That's all.
That concludes the public comment section pertaining to Tommy's motion. There's been a motion, there's been a second, and there's been public comment, so we will take a vote at this point in time. I will ask each council member to validate their vote, starting with Tommy.
Aye.
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 Larry?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Brenda Gunter, aye. Motion passes 7-0. And thank you all for being here today. And thank you for your service. I think what we will do is we're going to take a 10-minute break just so those individuals that are packing their bags right now and leaving this room, we have time. Yeah. Door, and we are going to have Lauren Garduno come forward. And Lauren, while we're waiting for Tommy Hebert to come back up to the dais, perhaps you just want to give us some of your background.
Sure.
What you've been doing for the past 30 years and why you're here today.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
You can kind of talk slow, waiting for Tommy to come back.
Yeah, you know, that's hard for me to do,
Yeah,
Mayor, talk
I know.
slow. But, so thank you, Mayor, council members, for having me today, give you an update on the I-27 in the Porches Plains corridor. I'm a little disappointed because when I walked in today, had a standing room line only to get in here. I said, man, everybody wants to come listen to I-27 and the standing room only corridor. Yeah, what happened? You know, whatever that. Yeah, oh, yeah. Yeah, and I saw that I was first on the agenda. So goodness gracious, look at there. But, so yeah, no, but reality kicks in. But I'm very honored to be able to speak in front of you today. My name is Lauren Garduno. I'm been 2 years now with the Porches Plains Alliance. Prior to that, 35 years with the Texas Department of Transportation. So I know I don't look that old, so just...
You know, what is key to that, Lauren, is that you know all of the ins and outs about TxDOT, all of the secrets, all of the things that are never said out loud, and you know about them all. So
all the
you bring-
closets, all
yeah,
the hidden
you bring-
closets and all that stuff,
You
right?
got it.
Yeah, there
So,
you go.
hugely important.
Yeah, so that has been to our advantage. You know, it's we know where we need to go when it comes time to look for funding, and we know where we need to go when it comes time to motivate certain people to kind of get this program, jump-started a little bit. I'd like to start this presentation by giving you a little bit of history on Interstate, because that's really ultimately, when this presentation ends today, that's kind of what we want to kind of focus on, is this Interstate 27. But in 1956, President Eisenhower signed an Interstate Highway Act that started kind of the boom of interstate highway building across the United States. 41,000 miles was the target. They said that we can get this built in about 15 years, and it would cost about $25 billion. That's your whole interstate system across the United States of America. But what happened was that it cost about $113 billion, and it took about 36 years for this system to be completed across the great United States of America. In Texas, what happened is when they identified their future interstate system, they took a look at their existing highway system that they had across the state of Texas, and a lot of those highways were east and west highways. They were going, traveling east and west, kind of follow the railroad system also. But we had US 90 down south that became Interstate 10. We had US 80 up north that became Interstate 20. And they built that interstate system, of course, across Texas, and that's what our interstate system came today. You're going to see a map here in a minute that shows the interstate system. And, of course, obviously what you're going to see on that map was the fact that San Angelo was right in the middle of US 80 and the real US 90, and so therefore there was no interstate system that came through San Angelo, Texas during all that construction. In the end, though, they did identify I-27 from Lubbock to Amarillo, and they started building on that. I can remember growing up in the panhandle of Texas, having to drive to Lubbock to go to school, and I drove that highway as it was being constructed. In 1992, they completed that highway system in Texas. In 1992, that segment goes into Lubbock, actually, was the last segment of interstate built under the Dwight Eisenhower Act. Now, since then, of course,
They, have been working on I-69 in East Texas. They've, a little part of I-14 popped up. And then, of course, here recently, we've got some exciting news about I-27 again. But what Texas did after 1992, and they completed their part of the interstate system, they started looking at the next generation of highways that we want to look at improving. And they came up with this thing called the Texas Trunk System. It was about 12,000 lane miles of highway across Texas that are going to connect these cities with 4-lane divided highways, and that was going to be the evolution of our next highway system in Texas. That's a map in front of you that shows the highway system as it was when it was completed, including that segment of 27 that went from Amarillo to Lubbock. But Texas, this was their trunk system in 1998. And then they started building on that, and they identified what they called some priority corridors on that corridor system. Phase 1, they called them Phase 1 trunk system corridors. Those are some things that are highlighted in red there. Fortunately for San Angelo and the San Angelo area, you did have a Phase 1 trunk system corridor that was part of the existing 27 that went through the Panhandle, picked up 87 coming south of there, down through Big Spring, Sterling City, and San Angelo. But from there, it goes on, that trunk system went on down over to Eden on 87, and then comes on south down into Junction. And that is the way that system was picked up at the time. So Texas was building on that. If you recall, Walter McCullough, the former district engineer in the San Angelo district, his staff, they worked on building 4-lane divided from Eden south, for example, down to Junction, and got a part of that built at the time with some of the funding that they had available to build with it. But that was it. What happened, though, was in the latter part of 2010, the corridor money dried up. We stopped building on these corridors. We stopped building on trunk system corridors because the money just went away. And they had to make decisions at the state level. We're going to maintain our roads, we're going to try to reduce some congestion, or we're going to build corridors. Well, corridors lost out, including the Ports to Plains, including this system that goes through here. However, that changed in 2016, as you all know, as I presented to you before earlier. You as the voters voted Prop 1, Prop 7, oil and gas severance, sales tax on certain vehicle expenses, and all of a sudden the highway program overnight, that was in 2015, 2016, it doubled. We were spending about $3.5 billion a year in construction, and it went to $7 billion a year in construction. And then since 2016, 2017, every year, because of oil and gas severance and some of those other things, that fund has continued to grow. And this last August, the Highway Commission voted a 10-year program that was a little over $104 billion, which means they are spending on an average about $10.5 billion a year in highway construction across the state of Texas. Why is that good for us? It's good for us because for the Ports to Plains corridor and the I-27 and all that, about $20 billion of that is in corridors. So $2 billion a year they're looking at putting on corridors. Granted, we've got to compete with all the other corridors for that funding, but that's $2 billion a year on corridors that we did not have prior to 2015. So, people are saying, well, that's why we're building again. That's why there's construction again. That's why you're seeing all this work being done again. In 2018, the Highway Commission went back and looked at their Phase 1 trunk system, and they identified that 4 key connectivity corridors on that trunk system, those red lines that I showed on that earlier map, that were just not quite finished. They had stopped that work because they ran out of money, and so they went back and the commission said, let's go ahead and see what it would take to finish some of this low-hanging fruit on that trunk system program, to build out. One of those segments they picked up, of course, was the Eden to Junction connection. So they did go back and fund the 4-lane divided to finish the 4-lane divided from Eden to Junction. And that highway construction is going to be going on and is going on as we speak. But what was good news for us on the Ports to Plains corridor is that added an additional segment in 2023. So those 4 red lines that you see on that map were those 4 trunk system corridor programs that they were wanting to complete out. For us, most of our existing Ports to Plains north of Interstate 10 is really for us, it's San Angelo North. We have a little bit of segment over there north of Dumas, or to the west of Dumas, over by Hartley, that wasn't 4-lane divided. But most of that red that you see, we have a little segment of that just outside of Big Spring, south of Big Spring on 87, that's not 4-lane divided. And so those two projects have now been picked up, and the Highway Commission is funding to build those to 4-lane divided. But what was nice for us was they also went down and they picked up that McAllen to Laredo segment, which was an existing trunk system project, but they added for us the Ports to Plains portion from Laredo to I-10 at Sonora, and added that as a key corridor. And what that means is that we can pretty well feel pretty confident that they will be investing out of that UTP, that $104 billion 10-year program, funding to actually build that golden segment, I call it down there, to 4-lane, at least to 4-lane divided standard. Now, what we're having to do as an alliance and as an advocacy group is we are continuing to go fight and work and look at getting more funding to not only get it to 4-lane divided, but also to take a look at our Laredo to Sonora to a future interstate standard. And the department has committed to doing their right-of-way purchases, doing their schematic, doing their environmental, doing their footprint for a right-of-way future interstate. And then they're going to at least be funding 4-lane divided. And then we'll just go try to find them some more money to go ahead and build it to interstate standard. So that's good news for us as an alliance on the Ports to Plains, because we can see that activity is going to happen. And I'll talk about that in a minute. This is that UTP I was telling you about, $104 billion they voted on in August, and you can see in Category 4 there, they've got $11 billion in rural connectivity, and they got about $8.7 billion in urban connectivity. Where that urban connectivity money is spent would be like, for example, inside the San Angelo metropolitan area, your MPO boundary. Your district will have some money, Cat 4 urban money, to work on these corridors inside your MPO boundary area. And we've got like 5 or 6 of these MPOs on our system. That includes Amarillo, Lubbock, San Angelo, Midland, Odessa, Laredo, and now recently they've added Eagle Pass as an MPO program. So that funding for you will be going after trying to make sure we're putting it where on our corridor to build future interstate. But that $11.3 billion, of course, is there that we continue to ask for to upgrade our corridor. And then on top of that, I would be remiss if I didn't point out that the Highway Commission actually has at their disposal Category 12 funding there, which is about $14 billion that they spend at their discretion. And as a community and as an organization, we can advocate for the commission to spend their $14 billion on our corridor. If we can get it, we have to just try to get it out of them. So we'll just continue to pursue that effort every time. So let me give you up to date on some things that are going on with the I-27 on the Ports Plains corridor. We were successful with Congressman Jackson's office to secure some federal dollars to do some planning study on the interstate feasibility upgrade from Amarillo to Dumas. And that funding came at the federal level, and we fed it to TxDOT and said, okay, here, go to work, start your study. So they are kicking off that study. They have a consultant secured already, and they are kicking off that study. And they're going to evaluate, of course, the interstate feasibility upgrade from south of Amarillo all the way to north of Dumas. Why this is important for us is because today our current alignment goes right through downtown Amarillo, and it truncates right there and terminates right there at I-40. So, realistically, we think that the future interstate's going to go around the west side of Amarillo on Loop 335, but that has not been designated yet. That has not been determined yet. And it can't be determined until we get through with the study that shows this is the preferred alignment that we're going to take the future interstate around the city of Amarillo and go north. Also, we need to solve what it's going to look like at Dumas, because for there, our corridor splits. And we have a corridor that goes over to Breton and then, through New Mexico, and our other corridor goes north up through Stratford and it terminates up at the Oklahoma border. The Ports to Plains portion goes on to Colorado. The interstate portion stops at the Texas border. And so we just by getting this study completed, then we are in a position then to now go back to both state and federal levels to ask for construction dollars to try to build, this interstate system out accordingly. Another important thing that's going to happen is in the September Highway Commission meeting, the Highway Commission approved a federal highway approved designation of our interstate system. So in 1992, when Texas closed the chapter on I-27 and interstates under the Eisenhower Act, That chapter was reopened in September with the approval of a 4.2-mile extension of I-27 south of Lubbock that has been brought up to interstate standards. So Lord willing, some point when we can get everybody, all the stars aligned right, we will invite you all to come and join us, maybe possibly early January for a sign unveiling, because we are now actually in the process of chipping away at actually moving this interstate south out of Lubbock and continuing on from there. What also is fortunate for us too, and we're going to seek, we already have some federal dollars that we were able to procure and secure to study for the Lubbock district, to study that alignment from Lubbock to Tahoka and all the way down to Lamesa. We have some money already put in place for that. It's just a matter of getting the district to start going after a consultant, kind of like what they did in Amarillo, to actually start the valuation of the interstate corridor from Lubbock all the way to Lamesa. Because if you look at that and drive it today, you're going to see you have a 4-lane divided highway with some frontage road in some places. We don't think it's going to cost us a lot of money to actually get that to an interstate standard because of the existing condition that it's already in today. So those are some projects that we have that are working on. Let me get closer to San Angelo for your benefit. So right now, the district has completed a grade separation project in Garden City out in Glasscock County, beyond Garden City. That was a safety project because of the at-grade intersection and the wrecks that were occurring in the oil field industry, and that was a much-needed project. So that is you say, well, Lauren, that's not an interstate. No, it's not an interstate, but every improvement that we can do on this corridor to get it closer to that interstate standard, the better off we'll be. And we'll continue to be better off that way. And so that construction is going on there in Glasscock County. And then down in Edwards County, south of Sonora, there's actually some work there to improve. Right now, that's like Super 2 passing lanes, and it's some added pavement width for that. That was basically that's kind of like an interim. That's an interim application of improving capacity on a corridor until we can get to 4-lane divided, until we can get to interstate. But really what's important for us to understand is the planning dollars that we're going to put into play here around the San Angelo area, and what we want to do this coming legislative session. So now, currently in this district, we have a study. A consultant is on board, and they are going to fix to kick off the alignment study south of San Angelo on 277 and 87 coming into town. Why that is important is you have the convergence of two future interstates, I-14 and I-27. So that study is in the procurement phase right now. The TxDOT is procuring a consultant, and they are going to come on board, hopefully, for me, can't get here soon enough, and we are going to start looking at evaluating that alignment coming into town on the south side of 277 and 87 coming into South San Angelo. So there's going to be a lot of public involvement on that. Looking at the potential alignment, because we want to bring that study in to what does a future interstate standard look like, for example. And there's going to be an opportunity for even you all to get engaged, with your public on that study as it kicks off this coming spring. And then in Sonora, they had finished a safety relief route study. They completed it in 2020. Nothing has been done really since then. I'm in the process of going down there and visiting with them as we speak, because one of our objectives is we want to pursue an engineering study to go ahead and reevaluate that existing relief route that they all agreed upon in Sonora and bring it up to interstate standard. What would it take to get to interstate standard? We need that study to be completed because we are looking for future. We're going to go look for future funding at that location. This next legislative session in Texas, they're estimating that we're going to have about a $30 billion surplus on our budget. Just to give you perspective, New Mexico's surplus is about $5 billion this next legislative session, predominantly oil and gas. Colorado's budget is about a $700 million deficit. So I'm not really up in Colorado talking to those about highways because they don't have the money to talk to me about highways, but we are talking to Texas and New Mexico about highways on our corridor because of those excessive budgets that they have in play. One of the things that we're going to go after, unless we're told otherwise, one of the things we're going to go after is some funding to actually do the I-27 upgrade at Sonora, and also to look at the feasibility of an interstate upgrade from Sonora to San Angelo. we're going to go after funding to do that. So, and the reason why that's important is back to my earlier slide about Amarillo and what they're doing on their study from Amarillo to Dumas. You can get the planning done, you can get the environmental completed, you can get the right-of-way identified, you can get the schematic built. It's a whole lot easier for us then to go after both federal and state dollars to build this corridor out because we have shovel-ready type projects that are ready for that. And that's the way we're approaching this, we're approaching this effort in that way. For you guys in San Angelo, you have an approved relief route. This is what your relief route, that has been on your study. Today, our alignment, our future interstate alignment does not take that route today. Because the way we congressionally designate our alignment, we just took to follow the corridor by highway. So, so this study that's going to take place on the south side of San Angelo, not only do you solve the I-27 and I-14 connection, but at some point we're going to need to take a look at that whole alignment that you see in green there to bring it up to interstate standard so that we can then actually go after some funding for future interstate money on that alignment. And then, of course, I showed you the Sonora. I told you about the Sonora. That was the recommended alternative in Sonora, and we will now pursue trying to get it reviewed up to interstate standards so that we can go after some funding to build that. Just a note, back to my earlier talk about that south segment from Sonora down to Laredo, because it is a key strategic corridor, the Highway Department is now putting, they're going to go after a rather large GEC contract consultant to study, to manage the consultants all the way from Laredo all the way up to Sonora, and they're going to include Sonora in their, in their
And
group.
explain why that is, because today the focus is getting product out of Laredo, going north and avoiding the congestion on I-35. So that becomes a key priority for this route.
Yeah, that's right, Mayor. And one of the motivators for the commission is going to be, they have the Texas Clear Lanes program, and Chairman Bug will talk about the Clear Lanes initiative. We're trying to get congestion out of San Antonio, trying to get congestion out of Dallas-Fort Worth. We're trying to get congestion out of Houston, trying to get congestion out of Austin. 35, really, it's the 35 corridor that goes through San Antonio and Austin all the way up through Dallas-Fort Worth. Well, there is a lot, two things are happening. That is one thing. We want to get that congestion out of San Antonio. Second thing is the Port of Laredo today is the nation's largest port. Let that sink in for a minute. The Port of Laredo today is the nation's largest port, dollar and volume. That's your East Coast ports, that's your Long Beach, California, that's your West Coast ports. Laredo is it. And it's an amazing thing to see when you look at the amount of volume of commerce and commodities and stuff they're trying to move into Texas, through that port. So for us, our corridor is front and center for them because we now can build an Interstate 27 out of Laredo, goes up to Eagle Pass, where we have another new crossing that's being built there, all the way up to Del Rio, where we have another new crossing that's being built there, a second one there. We got those three major ports for us on our Interstate 27 corridor, and then from Del Rio north on 277, it comes right up into I-10. At I-10, we can make a decision of whether we're going to go to California with this stuff or we're going to continue on up north through San Angelo on the way to Denver with this stuff.
The traffic right now indicates the majority of the traffic is going to go north on 277, not the other way.
That's correct.
And Sonora has paid for those studies to determine the flow of traffic, and it's all up 277 north to San Angelo.
Yeah, that is correct. One of the biggest commodities, for example, Mayor, is I have Joe Kiley, my VP of Ops, has actually mapped this, is the cattle, the impact of the cattle industry from Colorado all the way down through Texas. And it'll kind of blow your mind when you start seeing all the dots of all the major feedlots and all the cattle production and all that goes all the way down. And that stuff continues on down south all the way into Mexico, where the state of Chihuahua and the state of Coahuila are both major partners in terms of the cattle industry. So it's a pretty fascinating phenomenon that's happening. And then on top of that, we would be remiss if we didn't say that nearshoring in Mexico is going to change the game also. Stuff's not going to go to China anymore because China's coming to Mexico. And that's just part of it. We got to figure out how to get that stuff out of Mexico. And with that, I close with this statement because this is an important slide for us to understand. We're going to build an interstate, folks, and it's not going to be your mom and pop's interstate. It's not going to be like the one that we grew up as kids. I grew up going to visit my grandparents on Route 66, turned into I-40, right? And I drove, and that's what I grew up on, driving that. And some of the small communities say, well, you're going to bypass our town's going to die. Mayor and I were having a conversation just before that. I said, as a small community, you have a voice on what that looks like today. And not only that, but there is going to be technology in this corridor that's actually going to drive future industry. There are going to be businesses that are going to come to San Angelo, Texas, or maybe even to Sonora, Texas, or maybe even to Cristobal, Texas, and says, you know what, we want to set up something here in this wide open space because it's going to support the electric grid or the electric vehicle space or all the new technology that's going to have to go into this corridor to kind of light it up. And what I mean by light it up is autonomous vehicles, or interactive vehicles, the future of relief routes also in signing. I was on a study, because I'm so old with TxDOT, I can go back to a study that I participated in on, relief routes and how those impacts on small communities. What do you do? And one of the biggest recommendations on those relief route study is we got to figure out a way to sign it better. We got to figure out a way to provide better signage. It was basically the beginning of your tourist destination sign program, the blue signs. That was kind of one of the outcomes of some of those studies is we'll involve some of these these Todd signs for McDonald's and everybody to put their advertisement on. Well, that's not going to be that. You're going to be driving in your car. You're going to be driving in your vehicle, and you're going to drive through, Cristobal, Texas, and there's going to be an interactive, Siri's going to talk to you, and she's going to tell you about the things that's going to be in Cristobal, Texas, where you need to stop and see, or places you need to stop and eat. You're going to drive into San Angelo, and it's going to be the same conversation. You can have a conversation in your car about, things that your local city is going to pay to have their advertisement put into that system. And that's going to be part of our sign program, and we just got to make sure we build our access off the interstate in a way that accommodates that traveler to go into there and experience that city.
You might also want to talk about truck parking because that's a key component because with the new laws, federal laws about 8 hour, you got to park the truck after 8 hours. Well, when you go from coming into Laredo and coming north, your 8 hours kind of ends right here in San Angelo, Texas. And so what's going to happen is this study will also dictate truck parking areas that today are inadequate for the new federal regulations in terms of hours on the road. And so, again, San Angelo will be a key city for that 8 hour stop.
Definitely. And what's nice about that, too, is that truck parking situation is being recognized at the federal level also. So there's a lot of federal dollars that are actually targeted towards solving this issue. And so, we just need to be in a position to take advantage of that, when it comes time. And I think we will be in a position to do that. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's my presentation. I close with this. Things are still happening in Mexico. The Port of Mazatlan they're adding an additional capacity to the Port of Mazatlan. And we actually have Ports to Plains efforts right now in Mexico where we're working with business leaders to try to improve that corridor that you see in red right there, coming up 30 up to 57 and even up 29 over to Del Rio. So there's some exciting things going on even in Mexico, even under the new leadership of their new president. So we are going to take advantage of the time. We're going to take advantage of the opportunity to try to promote this corridor, not only in Texas and Mexico, but going north of here because we've got a lot of things going on that I didn't even talk about that's happening on the northern segment of our corridor in North Dakota, South Dakota, and with the Theodore Roosevelt and with the Heartland Expressway.
Well, you might mention, because in North Dakota, most people don't realize North Dakota has number 1 and number 2 largest fossil fuels. It's not Midland, Odessa is hugely important, but North Dakota outshines Midland, Odessa. In terms
they're
of
a player.
production.
They're definitely a player in that market. Mm-hmm.
And then the other issue is everyone always says, yeah, but in my lifetime I'll never see. And we need to describe the process. We don't go from 2-lane to interstate. We go from 2-lane to 2-lane divided, 2-lane divided to 4-lane divided, 4-lane divided to interstate. It is a process, but along that way, all of those improvements add to the safety of this corridor. And so you want to talk about that issue.
Yeah, so the timing of this, and the mayor mentioned the progression and especially from a safety perspective, you want to get off a 2-lane highway to 4-lane divided to, to interstate, controlled access interstate. The key to making this thing happen sooner than later, because she opened that comment up with about in our lifetime when this is going to happen. The key to this is going to be and it's been our strategy, is to secure the planning dollars, to get the planning work done, to get the right-of-way and the environmental and the schematic laid out on this corridor, because then all of a sudden you are able to compete for dollars when they become available and in different programs. Case in point, I was the district engineer in the Abilene district at the time, 2009, 2010. I went over to Big Spring and I started working with my staff and said, let's start figuring out what this Big Spring reliever route needs to look like. And we started the planning effort, 2009, 2010, started talking to the landowners, started working that. And then in 2012, all of a sudden, Proposition 12 popped up at the state level, and every district received some funding allocated to them out of that Prop 12 bond program. And they signed each one of the 5 district engineers on this corridor up here. We all got some funding. But what I received, it was going to cost me $55 million on the southern part of that loop. I wish we cost that much today, but it was going to cost like $60 or $70 million on the northern part of that loop, north of Interstate 20, and so my allocation as a district engineer was about 12 to 15 million, and I wasn't going to get it built. But at the time, Lubbock didn't have a project ready, Amarillo didn't have a project ready, and San Angelo didn't have a project ready at the time. And so visiting with Drew Darby, we worked it, and I got 4 other district engineers to give me their allocation. And I cobbled up about $50-something million worth of those allocations, and we started building the Big Spring reliever route. Now, granted, those other districts got their money back when their time came, but we were able to take that money because project was shovel ready, and we were able to get that thing off the ground. And that's the strategy that's going to get this thing built sooner than later for us as a corridor. I do firmly believe, because the commission has identified the southern segment from Sonora to Laredo, that I believe that we can get it built within the next 10-year window. I believe that. North of there, we're going to have to get real creative. And for example, my creativity is like I call the Sonora to San Angelo, I call that the gap, because it's not on any key strategic corridor as far as the highway's concerned.
That's because of political reasons. Just make sure you say that, because there was concern that there was someone representing this part of Texas that didn't want to look like it was a conflict of interest, and that is the only reason.
Yes, yeah, and so it didn't get it didn't get picked up, but we got other ways of filling the gap. That's the point. Is we've got other ways to fill in the gap, and we will figure out ways to fill the gap, and we'll go from there. So, and then, like I said, north of there's a lot of low-hanging fruits on the existing 27 system today and on the existing 87 today. It's just that we just have to get the study started so we can get them to upgrade the interstate standards so that we can go with the construction money to build it. So, yes, and I like to do it in my lifetime too, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Do council members, would any of you like to ask questions or make any comments? Lauren, thank you very much for being here today. It's great.
Yeah,
great.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank y'all for
having us. You gave us the update we needed. Thank you.
All right, you bet.
We will now move into, I know Jeremy is ready to go, patiently waiting for us to get there. So we're going to have a report for the Destination Marketing Organization by Jeremy Bartz.
Patiently waiting, absolutely patiently waiting. Well, thank you all very much, Mayor Gunner, City Manager Valenzuela, council, staff. Thank you all for having us here this morning. As you can, well, let's see, Brian, do we have, yeah, we're good. No, we're not. Yes, we are. As you can see on the presentation on the board, we are Discover San Angelo. Now, I know that over the time, I'm Jeremy Bartz. I'm the Vice President for Destination Marketing with San Angelo Chamber of Commerce. And I know that over time, there's been some discussion about San Angelo, Discover San Angelo. Why do we have Discover San Angelo? Well, this year in January, just so that everyone's aware, we put together a strategic marketing plan workshop. And many of you were in attendance with that. During that time, the goal was, pardon me, I'll pull that up. The goal was to identify what San Angelo really is, give it that identity that we were after. Well, after 4.5 hours, the idea of where Cowboys and Creatives converge came together. We all know that we're the visual arts capital of Texas. We all know that we have just recently been awarded as the arts and culture destination of Texas for 2024. Those were things that we knew we had. But we also wanted to tie in the historical piece of why San Angelo is here. Well, the way to do that was to talk about the cowboy aspect. How did we get here? Well, we obviously had Fort Concho, but how did the city start? That was the crux of the whole deal. So when you see at the bottom of this page where Cowboys and Creatives converge, the idea was to say, let's pull all that together. Let's use that creativity that we currently have in droves. Everywhere you go, Art in Uncommon Places, the Park Art Gallery, the museums, even the splash pads today. Everything that we have is creative in its own way, but we wanted to tie in the cowboy theme to it because that fit with what our city stands out for. So, let me give you a little Datify analytics just really quickly. I'll start with that. In 2023, we had a little over 3.1 million trips to the city of San Angelo. In 2024 year to date, we've had 1.9 million trips to the city of San Angelo. Not quite as many as what we saw in 2023, but I think we're also looking at a disposable income issue, and we've talked about that and heard from other people about inflation and various things of that nature. But what I will tell you is this. When you look at the total number of days that they've stayed, we're starting to see that that's normalizing. It's starting to come back around. The summer months were a little tough. I'll be honest with you. It was not exactly what we had anticipated. I think our weather was, obviously it was very hot, it was very dry, but we have the only source of water out in West Texas that people can take advantage of with the constant level Nasworthy and various other things. So it gave them a way to get here, but at the end of the day, the summer travel was tough. It just didn't materialize as much as we would have liked. But we can see here that on our days that they have come to the city of San Angelo, we're starting to see that Thursday, Friday, and through the weekends have been really, really good. What we're struggling with, and I think that we have in the past, is that Monday through Wednesday time frame. That's always been an issue for us. I look back all the way to 2019, and that was a struggle, was that Monday through Wednesday time frame. So what we're doing is we're trying to engage with groups that we can get here for that Monday through Wednesday to stay in our hotels and do their, be here for that time frame. The Thursday through the Sunday time frame is great for us. Weekends are great. We've got a lot of great things happening downtown. All of you, I think, subscribe to the Asher Rogers Report on a weekly basis, and we get an idea of what he's doing just in concert with what we're doing to let people know what's going on in the city of San Angelo. When you look at our demographics, this is one that I really wanted to point out to you. Our 45 to 64 age range has historically been our number one travel and tourist group. It's always been there. What I'm seeing, though, is that the 25 to 44 age group is starting to gain on that. That's all of us up here, right? That 25 to 44, I think that fit. Wait, no, I don't even fit in that. Never mind. But that age group is beginning to gain a little bit of momentum in traveling to San Angelo. And I think that one of the reasons why we're seeing that is the vast array of things that we have to do here, and they can get out of the larger cities and they can come out here and find the solace and solitude that they're looking for. We have all the same various attractions that you'll get in an Austin, but here you can come, enjoy, and what we heard from all of the folks this morning, we have a greater level of public safety in this city than in other places. I can watch people out of my window on a daily basis who are walking their families down the river, and you couldn't do that other places without worry of, do I need to put a leash on my child so that somebody can't take that child? Here in town, we have that ability, and that is one of the things that is a big selling point for us. So let me roll forward here. Sales bookings year to date through 2024, we have 127 total sales in the pipe that have run through January through October. We have 10 in the pipeline currently. Some of those are large groups, some of those are small groups, some of them are repeats, some of them are new. And so that is one thing that we focus our efforts on daily, is selling the city of San Angelo to get people to come to our city, stay in our hotels, eat in our local restaurants, shop in our local stores, then go back and tell their buddies and come do it again. That's what we're after. But with these groups, with these sales, we're looking for that sweet spot large group. Right? We've talked about that before, that we can book into the convention center or that we can book into other events centers here in town. Case in point, back in April, we had the American Society for Civil Engineers group come in to ASU in partnership with ASU. When that group of students came in, there were 600 students plus 150 sponsors that came in with them. And when I say sponsors, really just chaperones. But that 750 people stayed for 4 nights in our hotels all across the city of San Angelo, and they made a huge impact on the numbers in April. So when we look at that analytics, when we look at that Datafy analytics software, that's what we're looking for, is to understand what that impact is, how that group affects us. Now, could we put 600 people in the convention center for 4 days? Yes, we could. I don't doubt that we could do that. Those breakout sessions are a little harder, as we've talked about, but at the end of the day, that gives us the opportunity to open up this venue for a group like that at any given time throughout the year, and we're grateful for that. So that's the key focus of our sales, is to try to draw those groups that have that association with the city or that have that association with someone else within the city to get them here. So those bookings are where we are currently. As you can see, in 2023, we had 200 total sales. This year's been a little tougher. I will tell you, we've also invested into a software that allows us to reach out to those meeting planners. It allows us to set that sweet spot of what we can accommodate here in the city of San Angelo and start pulling some of those conventions and regional meetings into the city, because all DMOs across the city or across the state, CVBs and DMOs, are putting that data into that system. And it's essentially a sharing system. Now, that doesn't mean that Lubbock doesn't want them, okay? But at the end of the day, if they're looking for a way to go someplace they've not been before, we want to be first on their list. So we're going to utilize that every way we can. When we talk about reach and we talk about some of the ads that we'll show here in just a moment, you can see on this slide, and I won't take a lot of time to walk through it, but these are the publications that we utilize on a monthly and in some cases it's a quarterly type publication. But you can see the reach. This is the number of people we're reaching out to, but we're also in competition with just about everybody else on the face of the planet to try to get people to our destination. So the ones that we've been most impressed with so far in terms of putting our QR codes on are Texas Monthly, Texas Highways, True West Magazine, and a couple of others. The one that we did not expect was AAA Explorer. This was one that we entered into this year just to kind of get an idea of whether or not it was worth putting the money into. We ended up with 35 touches to our website straight out of AAA Explorer, and that only started in September.
Oh, sorry. What I was saying was, that's because heritage tourism, which
It's
is
still a
what San
key.
Angelo has.
Yes, ma'am.
This is 65 and older, and the heritage tourism per person will spend more dollars per person than any other age category.
Absolutely, and we're glad to have them. And that's the reason we went into that. So thank you, Harry. Oh, wait, why was Tom pointing at you? That wasn't very nice. So I want to give you an example of some of the ads that we've placed this year, and I won't take too much of your time again to walk through each one of these, excuse me, but you can see that the Cowboys and Creatives theme and the idea of bringing San Angelo back to its true identity. We had seen in the years past, we had seen kayakers in the river, which is not a bad look, right? I mean, we've got the water, we've got the kayakers, and that's all great. But what if we went into what we really have here in the city of San Angelo? So our goal was to turn Jasmine loose a little bit, let her go out and do these ads using her creativity, because it is a different creativity than mine. Mine looks for things like you'd see in True West Magazine, where you'd see, I think this was, the bareback or the saddle bronc rider right in the middle of the arena. I'm looking at that ad, or I'm looking at Ty Harris down in our roping arena. I'm looking at those things, but she's using the murals in ways that we never could have possibly done before. So when you see these ads, you'll also notice that there is an individual QR code down at the bottom of every single one of them. Those ads are unique to each publication. So every time someone scans it with their phone, it pops up and lets us know that they're on our website. And that's how we can track the usage of those QR codes. We can't guarantee that those people are coming and staying in hotel rooms, but we can corroborate that data with Datafy and try to determine where our reach is with each one of these ads and get an idea of how many people came to town. We have some Christmas targeted ads, which I'm sure Mr. Pfluger in the back of the room and many of you will also be appreciative of. When we look at this, this was an idea for us to say we need to get this annual tradition that is the Concho Christmas celebration in Old Fort Concho out into the public. Many people don't know about it. We wanted to be sure that we gave it its due and that we got people here to experience it. The one thing you'll look at on this one particular ad is where we talk about unwrapping the magic, or you talk about where the cowboy spirit meets creative holiday cheer. Last night, True West Magazine actually took just the raw, unedited photo, no text around it. They put it on their Facebook site. And you can see it clearly that where the plan now is, right about there, there is a child standing there with his mouth wide open, looking up at the snow coming out of the back end of that old Central Firehouse fire engine. A memory was made for that young man at that very moment, and it was captured in a photo. Now, you can't see it in the ad, but you can come here and experience it for yourself. So that was our goal there, was to make sure that we put a sense of pride or a sense of, I need to get there, a sense of urgency to get there. Come find out what this is all about. And then the last thing I wanted to leave you with is this. In years past, we have focused our efforts primarily on print media, which I think still works great. There's not been any major changes there. A lot of people are starting to interact with that, with those QR codes, as we have seen. But in this year, we found out that we've got 3 local San Angelo, Texas cowboys out running the life every single day, running up and down the road from city to city to city. As I was sitting at home during the summer, watching the Cowboy Channel and watching the rodeo run, which is 100 days and 100 rodeos in 100 days, every time you looked up, you'd see Ty Harris backing into the box, Dylan Hancock backing into the box, Joel Braden Harris backing into the box. And at the bottom of their name, on every single one of them, it would say, hometown San Angelo, Texas. And so the more I kept seeing this, I thought, there are more people watching this than I am just sitting at home watching this, because it's 1,000 degrees outside and I want to sit in the cool. I know there are more people seeing this. I know there are more people interacting with this. How do we capitalize on this? So I reached out to these 3 gentlemen back in August. And in that conversation, they are the ambassadors that we didn't know we needed for the Cowboy side of the Cowboys and Creatives. I had no idea what we would end up doing with this. These 3 gentlemen have all qualified to be at the NFR in Vegas. We have 20% of the calf ropers that will be represented in Las Vegas in December from the city of San Angelo. And all 3 of them will be wearing the patch that you see right here. Now, it's a little bit different than our standard logo, but we are using a Cowboys and Creatives logo for everything revolving
Where's
around
the
Cowboys
red
and
dot on
Creatives.
that Texas map that shows San Angelo? That's all I want to know.
Where's the red dot?
Yeah, because I see a blue
Oh.
state of Texas, but I don't see a red dot that shows where San Angelo is on that.
Good point. I'll make sure we add that to it. Thank you. Good idea. Do you want a wayfinder in there instead of a red dot?
Just a red dot will work.
Red dot will work? Okay. But I don't know if you can see it or not, but when we had them here for Rope and Fiesta, we had Ty with that logo already on his chest. It's a little hard to see, and if I start circling it, we take things out. Dylan had not had enough time to get it embroidered on his shirt, but Joel Braden also did as well. I attended a congratulatory party for Joel Braden on Saturday night, just to say this is his first NFR qualification. He was so appreciative of just everyone in the room. And that's why I say that this was the match that we didn't know we needed. These are very humble young men. They are very appreciative of what we do, but at the same time, they are willing to do anything that we need. So let me give you one last little thing here. Ty Harris, the day that we agreed on this, and we had the signed document with Ty, that Friday, he was on his way to Pendleton, Oregon. On Saturday afternoon, he won Pendleton, Oregon. Okay? On Monday morning, he published it on Instagram. And in that one post on Instagram, there were 120,000 views in one day. Dylan Harris, the following week went to Mandan, North Dakota, did the exact same thing, posted it on Instagram, 25,000 views in one day. Joel Braden goes and wins the circuit finals, a round at the circuit finals, tags us in it, 22,000 views. Folks, that's 170,000 views, roughly, 180,000 views in 3 weeks. We don't have that through any other media, and these folks are willing to be our ambassadors and be that person out in across the United States and around the world to be our ambassadors and be our influencers. So that was the reason behind that, and when I left that tagline at the bottom where Cowboys and Creatives converge, these are the 3 cowboys that are going to help us do that.
What I'd like you to do next is where are the 3 artists
I can do
that we
that.
can do the same thing
I can certainly do that.
and continue with that story.
Yes, ma'am.
You've done a great job on this story. The message is loud and clear. And if we just keep that going and continue to highlight the talent that exists in this city.
Yes, ma'am. And that's my plan.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you. Thank you.
Jeremy, we'd all like a patch.
We'd all like a patch. I can do that. I've got stickers as well.
All right. We'll take stickers. We are now at item C, consider a resolution designating the number of votes to be cast for each nominee for the Board of Directors of the Tom Green County Appraisal District. And Heather, you are on.
Okay, as y'all remember at the last meeting, we did nominations to the Appraisal District Board. The Appraisal District has gathered all of those nominations from all of the taxing entities and have put together an official ballot for you to cast your votes today. Just a refresher that 2 positions are appointed to 1-year terms, and 3 positions are appointed to 3-year terms, okay? The city of San Angelo has, here it is, a total of 1,529 votes that you can split up as you wish between each position. It's a little convoluted. I did a little bit of math for you. These are the 2 ways that council in the past has split their votes between board members. Of course, this year is a little bit different because it's positions as opposed to board members, but more or less the same. The top one, of course, would be to evenly distribute your votes among the 5 board members, 305 per position, and then 4 remaining votes that you would distribute just by consensus. The second one does get a little crazy if you divide your votes where each council member has their own amount of votes to put towards. But those are, like I said, the 2 ways that council has split votes in the past. Okay?
So it's simplest.
The simplest is
split by
definitely the
5,
top.
and-
Yes.
Let's do the top.
Do I need a motion for that?
No.
So council is recommending
That
that
we're
we
gonna do the
split
top?
those votes by the 5 board positions.
Okay.
And then the 4 remaining votes distributed by consensus, which means,
Well, and so the next part here is voting on which board member you want for each seat. I put this in here because council asked for this at the last board member. I have put the nominees in order of most time that they have already spent on the appraisal board, with Lewis and Bob serving a little over 10 years. And then Candy, I believe she's about 8 years, and then Scott and Eric just a little over, almost 2 years. Okay. This is what the ballot looked like that Tyler sent over. And then I did just break it down a little bit more for you to look at. And then we can just quickly go through. You can let me know who you want to vote for each position, and we'll be done. So position 1, you can vote for Luis Gomez or Bob Reeves. You'll see the asterisk by Luis Gomez. That's just to let you know that he was also nominated for a 3-year term on one of the other positions of 3, 4, or 5. And then position 2, Bob Reeves or Eric Wilson, and both of these positions will be for that 1-year term.
So I can tell you this much, this is confusing to me.
I understand.
Agreed.
I
Give us
understand.
better direction, because this
Okay.
is, go ahead, Tom.
Mayor, if you don't, everybody here is going to get elected. If you look at them, everybody's going to get elected.
Yes.
All right, so it doesn't matter how it falls.
Mhm.
Correct? So we just pick one and then start knocking his name off the 5.
Correct. So if you look at it that way, the only thing you really need to decide is if you, are you going to vote for Luis Gomez to serve a 1-year term or a 3-year term? And are you going to vote for Eric Wilson to serve a one-year term or a three-year term, as they are also they were also nominated for positions that are for the three-year terms?
What did we nominate him for?
You nominated, I'm going the wrong way. Oh, okay. Excuse me. You nominated Lewis and Bob for one-year terms, and Candy, Scott, and Eric for the three-year terms.
Keep it that way.
Absolutely. We
Go-
all agree
go with the way
go
you
with that.
nominated?
Exactly,
Yeah.
we nominated it.
Okay.
And the four
And-
extra votes give to
The newest board members.
the newest board member, Eric.
The newest board member, Eric. Okay, we'll get that recorded. Thank you. Can I get a motion?
So move.
Second.
Public comment?
None.
We'll take a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. I'll move to item D. Consider approving the purchase of 68 and 72 East Avenue D from City Cabinet Shop. Purchase price and closing costs not to exceed $195,000. Sourced from general fund balance, and authorizing the city manager to negotiate and execute all related documents. You're not Carl White, but you're going to speak anyway.
Well, Carl and I are here together.
Oh, it says, sorry.
Yeah, it's
By real
okay.
estate manager Sarah Torres and Carl White.
Yes.
So
I'm just-
sorry.
I'm going to give a little bit of background on the property, and Carl's here to answer any questions, maybe regarding the use of the property and the future of it. This is the old city cabinet shop. Total acres is about 0.4. It is owned ML Light Manufacturing. It is in Harry's district and is part of the Fort Concho neighborhood. Here's just a map of the area. And here's just showing another shot of the property outlined in red. And like the caption said, it was appraised at 193. And we don't foresee the closing cost to exceed about 2,000 total for our portion. And then we do recommend approval of buying this property. If you have any questions for Carl regarding the use?
Come on up, Carl. So, any ideas about what you'd like to use this property for?
Well, I think it's key first is just to get control of it, to make it part of the overall Paseo property. But we could hold on to it. We could use it for storage, just short term. We could also convert it to an event space. We could do whatever we want with it, whatever council directs us to do.
I love the idea of an event space because it has that outdoor area. And we have the Buffalo Soldier, wonderful Buffalo Soldier exhibition. And so it allows for events to be done there. It just needs some remodeling and some bathrooms, and there you go. But that's not what we're deciding today. What we're deciding today is to purchase this property. So with that, do I have a motion? Harry?
So move. I think this is opportunity for us to keep that whole area backed into where citizens and visitors can come and enjoy the thing. It's been something I've been trying to do for 8 years, so I move to approve.
Second. Second by Lucy. For public comment? Seeing none, we'll take a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. We'll move to item E, consider approving the purchase of 605 Rio Concho Drive from White Dove Capital LLC for the purchase price and closing costs not to exceed $70,000, sourced from general fund balance, and authorizing the city manager to negotiate and execute all related documents. And once again, Sarah and Carl are on.
Yes. This is 605 Rio Concho West, really close to the convention center, almost 2 acres. It is zoned RM1. It's in Harry's district and part of the Fort Concho neighborhood, just like the last property. Here's another shot of the location. And the purchase price is $67,000, and we don't foresee the closing cost to exceed $2,000 to $3,000 on this one.
Questions for Sarah or questions for Carl? May I have a motion?
Move to approve as presented.
May I have a second?
Second.
A second by Tom. Any public comment? Seeing none, we'll take a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. 7-0.
Go Sarah.
We already did item F, so now we'll move into item G, consider an appeal of the decision of the Planning Commission for partial denial of a variance request on the paving width adjacent to Lewis O. Woodward subdivision. The variance requested was 0 additional paving for a 17-foot wide county road named Irvingdale Road in the EJT under agreement with the county to impose city subdivision rules. This gets very complicated. And so please go into great depth in terms of
Sure.
explaining what this is, and then options.
Okay, so we have city limits, and then we have the ETJ. And in between the city limits and the ETJ, we have an agreement with the county that says that those properties follow our platting. So that's how we got here. The road, let me see. So when it came to Planning Commission, the road currently is 17 feet. That does not meet our land development and subdivision ordinance, which says that roads need to be 26 feet. However, you see the 20 feet in here because the International Fire Code has changed recently, and they recommend 20 feet for a minimum roadway to be able to allow 2 emergency vehicles going each way, or to allow one to stop and do what they need to do with another one coming by. Imagine like a fire truck stops to put out a fire and then an ambulance comes by. So that is the partial variance that the Planning Commission decided to grant. They didn't go with the full 26, they went with the 20, which means that the property owner would be required to pave an extra 3 feet for 450 feet along the side. How do you do that? First time using this little thing. They're going to have their driveway over here on Irvingdale. So that 3 feet would be all along their property. So this is what you're seeing. This is 3 lots right now, and the owners are replatting it to be 2, which is also...
Speak into the microphone, please.
Thank you. This is 3 lots right now, and they're replatting it to 2, which is why this was triggered. This is what it currently looks like. The staff did recommend, and the Planning Commission did vote 5-0 to approve the partial variance of 20 feet of road as opposed to the 26. Are there any questions?
So if it's been approved by the Planning Commission, all it lacks is being approved by the City Council.
No, ma'am.
So explain that.
Thank you. Appreciate your guidance. So the Planning Commission decided, and there is a way for people to appeal the decision of the Planning Commission, and that is before you.
Because they wanted 26 feet?
Oh, no, they didn't.
That's, yeah.
Y'all wanted 26 feet? No.
No,
No,
that
it's not
was-
joking too either. No, they would like to keep the 17 feet. They would like to keep it as is.
And are there rules or regulations or a decision today that could be voted on for the 17 that would then kick in to expand it to 20 feet if something else happened?
Sure, yes, thank you. That is a good option. There could be a deferral placed on the property where if any other tracts of land along Irvingdale are developed, that it would trigger doing the whole road. Because as you can see, there is a little bit of the road on Irvingdale that their property doesn't cover, and then a bit on the other side of it. So if they do the work now, it will...
What's a bit? Define a bit.
Ooh, I don't know how long that is. This is the part I'm looking at right here. So this,
Their part is, how big is their part?
their part is 425 feet.
425, so if you divide that in half, that gives you an idea of what that is above it, that little bitty piece up there, and the below is smaller than that, so just in reference.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
So what you're saying is that the owner of this property would like it to stay at 17 feet, which we could live with if we decided that if it was developed, the other two plats were developed, then he would automatically be required to expand it to the 20 feet. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am, that is one option.
And the other option is to deny the 17 feet and expect that it be improved to 20 feet on the entire length of that Irving Dell property.
Yes, ma'am, as the Planning Commission decided. And the main reason, I've heard it say many times before, and the main reason is for health and safety. We want to, if anything happens out there for these folks, you want to be able to get emergency vehicles in there to address those things.
Quick question possibly for legal. What is our ability to have the applicant do that after the fact? How do we get that?
What do we say and what do we
means-
approve if we say
If you delay
it's
it.
approved for 17 feet today, but development will force that 17 feet to go to 20 feet automatically?
Right. So there is a process for a deferral agreement in the code, and it would either need to be for a term of years or a certain event that triggers that. I know we have done it based on future development where it triggers like a CO or building permits. So we could have that as a trigger in the deferral agreement. And then the other part of this is whether they would have to provide a financial guarantee. So the options are like a letter of credit from a bank, a bond, and that guarantee could also be deferred. So they don't necessarily have to put that up if you decide that, but it is one way to ensure that in a future date that the improvements would get constructed one way or another.
Show me where the city limits is on this map.
I'm not sure that I have a map that shows the city limits.
Mayor, I looked on our development, it's not far now. I know that's not a distance, but it's not.
Far is defined as?
Yeah.
Far.
I knew you were going to do that to me.
Less than a mile.
Not very far from far. Yeah.
Sorry that I don't have that map available.
Okay, so, yes, please.
Colley Road and a couple other here are just south by probably less than a half a mile. I would say it's probably closer to a quarter mile that those roads were the city limit. This is kind of an odd piece of property as it sits in an outlying spot. You actually wonder how this fell outside, but still ETJ. But there's a whole row of houses, Pacific, Atlantic Street, and then they come up to Colley Lane, and we hit in there. So you're well under half a mile, probably you're closer to a quarter mile from the city limits and where it lays in the ETJ. And there's a historic problem with how narrow some of those streets are. I have one on there that's on Pacific, and once people park on it, you can't get one vehicle by.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for that additional information.
Questions, comments from council?
Comment.
Yes, Tommy.
I'm not in favor of 17. I'm even not in favor of 20. My preference is 26, simply because of the safety aspect. To me, that's short-sighted on our part. Again, my opinion, it's short-sighted on my part not to go for 26. I know the proponent does not want that. I realize that, but I think we need to look at the public safety aspect. I could probably go with the 20, but my preference is 26.
But the federal regulations have reduced it from 26 to 20. Is that what you said?
That is correct.
Yes, ma'am.
So federally, it says 20 is fine. You don't need 26. So with that said, the 26 is outside
Well, and
federally designated.
just to
law.
clarify, our ordinance still says 26, and the International Fire Code says the 20, but, I mean, we're permitted to revise those regulations, and so
Yes, and we could change the ordinance as well.
we could, yes.
Okay,
And I think
that's-
we're looking.
There is that option, okay? So with the federal guideline of 20, not 26, our ordinance no longer follows federal recommendations, correct?
26 currently.
Yeah. Okay.
Also, to keep in mind, as you look at deferrals or those type of things, we don't issue COs in the ETJ. So that's
Correct.
not a option for you to hold over someone's head. Okay.
But we could force the issue of expanding it to 20 if in fact any other development happens. So it's not a CO, but it is a part of the motion that could be made that says any additional work would require that kicking in.
Yes, ma'am.
If
And
it's something that triggers a plat or something like that, it has to trigger something that we have authority over. So CO, no. Replatting again, yes, but, you know, they'd have to trigger something that we could deny if they didn't follow what you designated.
Okay, Harry?
I'd rather keep it at the 20 feet and do it right now, and I know that's an expense to the individuals out there, but if we kick this can down the road, some of the council's going to have to make that decision. I'd rather keep it to 20 and reject this appeal.
We've got a lot of opinion. Where's the motion?
I'll make a motion to deny the appeal and leave it as is with a 20-foot
Second.
stipulation.
Public comment?
Juan Santiago.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Juan. I reside at 1610 Wilson Street at the moment. We bought this property in November of last year, and it's just been a headache trying to get everything approved through the city council, everything. We bought, it's a little under 4 acres that we've been saving up for a long time it's been a dream for us, you know. We already have a house out there, but without an approval, we can't get our septic tank, we can't get water, we can't get electricity out there. And, I mean, they're asking us to pay they gave us a quote of $30,000 to get that 3 extra feet redone on the street. And that's a lot of money for us. I mean, we spoke to Rick Bacon, which is the county commissioner, and I'm guessing somebody had already mentioned it to him about going wider with the road. And what he told me yesterday on the phone, he said that he was in denial of going wider with the road, that he wanted to keep it at the 17 just because it's more work on the maintenance of the road. And he said that he wasn't willing to maintain that 20 that they were trying to go with.
You have to expand it from 17 to 20 feet. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. I mean, yes, ma'am. Like I said, I mean, we're not planning on dividing the property. We're keeping it at one single property for my family, for my kids. We needed a bigger house. We wanted to stay a little bit outside of town and still be within the city limits, you know, or not the city limits, but closer to the city. And it's just been a dream for us to get this done. And like I said,
So you're saying that if in fact we pass that you have to expand it to 20 feet in order for you to get sewer system, septic system, because they won't do it otherwise?
Without the replat, they won't give us a 911 address, so we can't get water, electricity, or sewer. None of our services will be approved. And then if they give us, or they make us pay for the road to get wider, that's $30,000 that we got to come up with, and then an extra. We're gonna have to start saving again just to get our services connected.
So you can't live there?
Yeah, we can't live there.
questions for him?
I just had a question. How
Sure,
long have you
Lucy.
had this land?
We bought the property in November of last year. We ran into some issues with the people that did our contract. Somehow they lost their paperwork, so we had to start over. When we did the survey, we requested for the place to get replatted, but it somehow, something happened. With this was with MQI whenever we started the survey. We're not using Wilder Engineering, and they're the ones that have been helping us a lot. Like I said, I mean, it's been a whole year that we've been trying to move out there. Our house is already there, but we can't do nothing without a 911 address. And like I said, if we were to pay $30,000, now we would have to come up with $8,000 to $10,000 for a sewer, and then whatever the city is gonna charge us to get the water out there, and then electricity also.
Thank you for your comments.
Brenda.
Yes, go ahead, Tom.
One stay up here a minute. The purpose of what we're doing today is over the next 30, 50, 70 years, okay? We were visiting with Aaron Vanoy in planning yesterday and talked about this specifically, all right? There are some alternatives to pavement. There's some chip seal and some things that can be done because we're concerned about the cost that you have to bear. I have another friend that has property in Great Creek that's going through the same problems you are, all right? And the cost of getting these things, the cost of the build is, that's y'all have assumed that all the way through. But there are alternatives, and after talking with Aaron yesterday, a smaller chip seal, some things have been, but this whole thing boils down to safety about being able to get vehicles to and from. All right, this is, we're just calling balls and strikes here.
Yes, sir.
And that's what it is. And after this, it's not in the city limits, but we all understand, and maybe as somebody else with property north and south of you have to go by these same rules sooner or later, maybe there's a way you can campaign something with them. But at this reason, just for safety is the reason we've upheld what the people at planning who are, they do what they do, and we point them there because that's what they understand. They're planning experts, and that's why we're going with the 20. I'm going to stick with my motion, but I need you to understand why. It's just a safety issue. There's people up here that would love to see that all the way up to 26.
Yes, sir.
We realize that's probably not feasible for this strip of land, but from somebody that's experienced these small roads less than a half a mile away, you can't get through there once somebody's parked on the side.
Yes, sir. And one thing that Mr. Bacon, Rick Bacon, the county commissioner mentioned, he said that the reason why he denied it was because there's only 2 houses out there right now, and it's no traffic whatsoever. I mean, and it's older people that live there. So he said they barely ever leave their house. You won't see anybody going past 10 miles an hour to that road. And then our house will be the third one, and I don't know if you can see it on the map. It takes most of that street. So like I said, we're not planning on doing no subdivision, no other houses. It's going to be just for my family, just one house, and that will be it.
We get that, we understand, but I just want you to understand why we're making
Yes, sir.
that decision today.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Erica Wilde.
So there's this question of safety.
Talk louder.
Sorry, there's this question of safety. July of this year, our planning commission and our city staff approved a plat with 16-foot road. So where is this rule coming from, and why is it just now coming up? I would like to delve more into that. Second of all, nobody at the city has been able, nor have we, were able to figure out if this road was even dedicated as a road. MQI did their research and said, it's an easement. It's not a road, not a dedicated road. My next point is, since Rick Bacon, the commissioner, has already said they don't want it widened and they won't maintain it, who's going to maintain their $30,000 plus of investment? And that is chip seal, by the way. So who's going to maintain that? Y'all want us to build this road? They want them to build this road for safety issues. Nobody's going to maintain it. It's not going to be safe. all I have to say. Thank you.
All right. We will take a
One more.
vote.
Jamal Schubert.
Sorry.
Jamal Shumpert, single member, District 3. For once, me and Tom are probably on the same side. I really,
Did you hear that, Tom?
yeah, I know. I really, really hate it for this guy, but this is what happens with deregulation. Texas itself has a problem with it. All you guys should be up there just wondering, like, how could this happen? Well, the people who sold them the land did not know this. And they should be knowing this because they're in real estate. And we're a heavy real estate town. And she wants to know why this is happening now and why they approved it in July. It's because I said something about it. I saw all these things happening that would make safety, almost impossible for future boards, as Tom and them stated. 26 feet is great, but 20 foot would be nice. I would see if you guys could look into maybe some money in the operations and maybe send a loan where you can make interest off of this situation and they can all get it built. I would try to work out some type of way to get it built for them because it's not their fault. Regular citizens don't know Texas Administrative Code. They're not sitting there reading thousands of pages of code on every single thing. Even the thing you walk on and speak in, TAC has code for it. Regular citizens don't do it. So that's it's not their fault, which is it's really a hard decision, which is why I'm glad I'm not one of you guys today. Thank you.
We finished with public comments, so we'll take a vote. All those in favor of denying the appeal to keep it at 70 foot wide, say aye. Tom? Those
I'm sorry. To keep it at 20 foot, is that what?
deny the appeal, which would keep it at the 20 foot wide, not the 17 foot as is.
Right.
So I'm going to go one by one. Tommy?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Harry?
Aye.
Mayor Gunter? No. Lucy?
No.
Karen? Aye. Larry? No. So motion passes unfortunately 4-3. Item H, consider a resolution approving a request for a variance to allow the sale of alcoholic beverages, beer and wine at the following locations: 1800, 1900, and 2000 block of Knickerbocker Road, being an approximate 10.0104 acre property in the J. McNeese Survey Number 176.25, Abstract Number 1641, a property within 300 feet of a public school. And we have
It's me.
no Aaron Vinay here today, so you are on.
Yes, ma'am. Kim, Planning and Development Services. I do want to draw attention in the resolution. Aaron forgot to put 2100 in there to specifically call that out. So if the resolution passes before it is signed, 2100 will be put in there also. As it's on all of the slides, but just not in the resolution. So the property that we're talking about is Stadium Lanes, and the strip behind that, or adjacent to that, the owner has an opportunity to split Stadium Lanes into 2 suites and have another business come in, and they would like to sell alcohol. There are already other businesses in the strip mall that are restaurant-based businesses that do have alcohol sales. And it is right across the street from the fields. It's less than 300 feet away from the central baseball fields. It's 104 feet. The staff is recommending that we grant this variance on TABC regulations because enforcing it is not in the best interest of the public. This is a very popular spot for folks to go. And we feel like with this exception that the amount of business would likely increase. We also believe that it constitutes waste or inefficient use of land or other resources. Making this more of an entertainment hub. And for any other reason, after consideration of the health, welfare, public, best interest of the community. I think, and one other, let's see. And San Angelo ISD does not approve of this variance.
So the adjacent other businesses that sell wine or beer or alcohol are?
They're all owned by one owner, so yes.
The locations or the businesses?
It's actually the
Come on, Ford,
property
come
owner owns the entire complex, and then there's individual businesses within each that have, sell beer and wine. So those are at restaurants or the wine store or those kind of things. But the shopping center as a whole is owned by one individual, one family.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Would you care for the owner to come up to answer any questions, or can I answer any questions for you right now?
Would you like to come forward?
I think it's still morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Mary Jane Stedman with Alexander Construction Company. I'm in Single Member District 5, I believe, and with businesses in Single Member District 1 and maybe a couple others. I am the managing partner and general counsel for Alexander Construction Company, which is the landowner for the area known commonly as Stadium Park. I take issue with being called a strip mall, but I get it.
It's a business mall.
So this Stadium Lanes, 2105 Knickerbocker Road, along with Invino Veritas, along with Napoli's, already have variances that have been granted for, at the time, with, I believe, a 200-foot. At that time, I think that the state law has changed to be a 300-foot, but these are variances that have already been granted. I believe on a technicality, what is happening is Stadium Lanes, that particular business is giving up a little bit of their space, which is coming back to the landlord to develop and do something different, and has an opportunity to carve out another suite for another business, which would then it's still in the development stages, and they are looking to have a liquor license. So we're planning ahead in having level 2 meetings with the city. It was brought up that we probably needed to consider going for a variance for this additional suite, just to make sure when these businesses file with TABC, they have to have specific addresses. So what was or is 2105 right now will become 2105 and 2105 Suite B. So since it's going to have different addresses with TABC, it will technically need variances for this rule with the 300 feet. Just to clarify on the map and drawings, the 100-foot distance between the property lines is what the state law is what you're looking at, but it's actually not in reference to the fields or the stadium. It's with respect to Glenn Middle School, which is a much further distance, but the law does not look at the distance from door to property line. It's property line to property line.
Correct.
But it has not been an issue for 20, 30 years with Stadium Lanes that already has this variance and a liquor license in place for a school that's much further away than just this technical property line, just to clarify the way it was presented. So I think there already exists variances. They've been granted multiple times. Cork and Pig is another one that was just next door, or two units down, so to speak, not owned by us, but it also had a variance and an existing liquor license in place when it was 2 doors down. So what we're doing here is needing to just come back and sort of clarify what's already been granted, so we have that for the ones that already exist, but it makes it a little easier going forward if these already have been granted, if we can just encompass this block of properties that are all the same distance across the street connected to each other with variances that have already been granted. We just like to move forward, do it one time, and it's done. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Jane.
Just
Yes,
comment,
Tom.
Mayor, to remind the council, we approved a very similar thing on Johnson Street at the corner of University and Johnson for a restaurant that wanted to have alcohol sales there that is even closer property line to property line than this one is. So there's a
Well,
precedent.
And I don't think citizens walk it out, oh, I'm 1 foot closer. Oh, no, I'm 2 feet closer. Oh, wait a minute, TBC says, no, let's be realistic here. There's plenty of businesses in that area that already sell liquor, wine, and beer. We need to clean this up and be consistent in how we approach it.
And Mayor, I think your justification in the past was it's the property line, not the school. The school is way farther than that. So that was your justification in the past. This one just happens to be unique because they own a big parcel of land.
Yes.
A big entertainment hub, not a strip mall.
It's a business complex, thank you. So with that, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
There is a motion by Larry, a second by Tommy. Public comment? Seeing no public comment, we'll take a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. We are now moving to item I, first reading and public hearing of an ordinance amending the budget for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2024, and ending September 30th, 2025, for 2024 street bond issue, SAISD, School Resource Officer Program, Concho Christmas Celebration, and street sweeper purchase. So this is a broad sweep of a lot of issues, in other words.
Yes,
You're
ma'am.
on, Tina.
And most of these projects you're familiar with, so I'll go through them pretty quickly. But of course, you know that we just approved the bond issue for $20 million for street reconstruction and improvement. So we're just budgeting for that bond revenue and the correlated expense. The San Angelo ISD School Resource Officer Program is new. The school district had reached out to the city and wanted to handle the way that they reimburse or pay for the officer's time. And so the police chief had worked with them and come up with this opportunity to fund that program. It's accounting for school resource officers within the schools and also those that are there for extracurricular activities. I did ask the chiefs to be here if you have any questions about that program and how it works.
Well, basically, they're going to repay the police for this work that is being done. So you get compensated, if I understand this, for the work and the officers you provide for the safety of the students in the school district.
Right, so this will run through the city's payroll process, and then the school district will reimburse us for those hours that are worked. I will point out that they also did agree to fund the SRO sergeant position, which was already included in the original budget. Concho Christmas Celebration, of course, you're aware that we are going to fund $200,000 up front for that program this year out of hotel occupancy tax funds. And then any monies that are raised that should be reimbursed to the city will reduce that amount in future years.
And there's expected to have revenue to reduce that amount.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am, there will be.
Okay, and then the street sweeper is coming to you because it's requesting to use fund balance out of the stormwater fund. And that's it. That's all
Questions
four of
for
them.
Tina? A motion then, please.
Move we approve.
A motion by Tommy, a second by Tom. Any public comment concerning any of these items? Seeing none, we will take a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
There are none opposed, so that motion
Thank
passes
you.
7-0. That completes our regular agenda for the day. We will now move into our closed session. The executive session under the provision of Government Code Title V, Open Government Ethics, Subtitle A, Open Government Chapter 551, Open Meetings, Subchapter D, exceptions to requirement that meetings be open under the following sections. A, Section 551.072, deliberations about real property regarding 805 West Avenue N. And item B, Section 551.071, consultation with attorney regarding possible action authorizing the city manager to negotiate and execute lease amendments with the City of San Angelo and Skyline Aviation, allowing encumbrance of Skyline's leasehold estate interest in the lease of City Airport property commonly known as 8534 Hanger Road, San Angelo, Texas. We are now moving into the closed section of the agenda, and this is at 11:21 a.m. We shall return when we have completed the business. We are back from closed session. It is 12:13 p.m., and we are going to make an announcement in regards to the closed session, and I believe, Tommy, you're on for this, please.
Yes, ma'am. I would make a motion that we authorize the city manager to negotiate and execute lease amendments with the City of San Angelo and Skyline Aviation, allowing encumbrance of Skyline's leasehold estate interest in the lease of City Airport property commonly known as 8534 Hanger Road, San Angelo, Texas.
And that is our announcement. We don't need to take any action. We do. And there's a second on that. Any public comment? Seeing no one in the audience, we will take a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. We will now go into item B, and it is consider approving various board nominations. Airport Advisory Board, Bruce Partain, SMD 1 to a third term, Patrick Newton, SMD 2, and Larry Martin, SMD 6 to a first term, all ending October 2026. The Design and Historic Review Commission, Stacy Elkins, SMD 3 to a second term, ending September 2026. Public Art Commission, Gail Stilwell, the mayor, to an unexpired term, ending April 2025. Tax Increment Reinvestment Zone Board, Ryan Newland, mayor, to a second term ending July 2026. May I have a motion for approval of the various board nominations as just read? Lucy has made that motion. May I have a second? And a second by Larry. All those in favor? Public comment, please. Silent audience. So we'll take a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. Are there any announcements in consideration of future agenda items? Now, Tom, I think you said you're not going to be here for the next meeting.
I will not be here. Y'all are on your own.
Okay. With that, we are asking for a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
So moved. A motion and a second. A vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are officially ending this meeting at 12:15 p.m.